Alola Pokemon Trainers, I'm Prince B. With Pokemon Sun and Moon out, I figured now would be a good time to take a look at some of my favorite Pokemon this gen had to offer. Before we begin, I'd like to clarify, this is exclusively for new Pokemon. As such, I won't be going over Alolan forms, as I could make a whole video about them, and I want to focus on the 100% new designs instead of talking about the old ones. Also, I'm going to be leaving out Legendaries and Ultra Beasts for a similar reason. I could make a video about them too. I really want to focus on the normal mons, the ones you'll spend the majority of your journey seeing. Finally, a lot of this gen's designs were okay, but most of them didn't immediately stick. With that said, as time went on and I got to play with them, I've come to actually like most of them. Of course, while I tend to care more about the design of the mon in question, how fun it is to use will also have some impact, so being good in battle certainly helps. Finally, I will be trying to avoid outright spoiling major chunks of the story, but there will be some vague spoilers, so watch at your own risk. With all that said, let's get started. Number 10. Move over Wobbuffet, Taunt Bait has a new face, and it's the ridiculous Pyukumuku. This thing is equal parts gross and adorable, which is about what you'd expect from something based on a sea cucumber that shoots its own guts out as a defense mechanism. Did I mention that's gross? Like, incredibly gross? But it really does have a certain indescribable charm to it, especially with its lore of sitting on beaches till it dies of starvation, and the little daily activity that lets you chuck them back into the sea to safety. The pay's not bad either. But aside from its hilariously gross gimmick ability, the other remarkable thing about Pyukumuku is its move pool. That is to say, it's remarkably bad. It's actually got a lot of support options, but literally no moves that deal direct damage. Still, this little Cuke has a pretty interesting design that cements it as one of the more memorable mons of this generation, for better or worse. Number 9. Wimpod was a Pokemon I didn't care much about. It was kind of weirdly cute, but didn't think much of it. My first impression of its evolution, though, was that this thing looks like a monster. And I was right. Golisopod is a monster, both in terms of appearance and strength. While I do tend to dislike bug types, I just can't help but be intrigued by this thing. It's so alien and primal that I can't help but kind of like it. While by no means my favorite new Pokemon, I have to admit it's a pretty cool design that lets it stand out against many of the others this generation introduced. Number 8. Number 8 goes to the adorable little Ankylosaur dragon, Jangmo-o. I was actually pretty excited for it, especially after seeing how cute it was on the Pokefinder in the demo. Unfortunately, like many pseudo-legendaries, Jangmo-o comes fairly late into the game, and it's pretty rare even in that area. I spent a good amount of time looking for one, and eventually I ended up giving up on it, using it in my main playthrough. It's unfortunate as it has a cute design, and its evolutions aren't slouches in battle by any means. With a fairly diverse move pool and access to a plethora of boosting moves, its final evolution, Kommo-o, seems a little weak compared to fellow pseudo-legendary powerhouses like Garchomp, but it's still a mon I'm looking forward to actually using in the future. Number 7. When the starters were introduced, my choice was pretty clear. I mean, owls are one of my favorite animals of all time. As for the other two, well, Litten was there, I guess. And Popplio, well, let's just say I don't like clowns. So imagine my surprise when the evolutions came around and the breakout hit was Popplio. Making their idol debut, Brionne hit the stage, Ganbatte! And Primarina is so great I quite nearly defected to Team Popplio. Being a gorgeous Pokemon with the fantastic water fairy typing, could you really blame me? Especially considering fairy is my favorite type. It was hard to resist Primarina's siren call, but I really stuck to my roots. Puns. Number 6. One of the things that Sun and Moon played with was the concept of Pokemon adapting to new and different environments, notably seen with Alolan forms of old Pokemon. It can also be seen with the little bird Oricorio, which takes a different form by sipping different kinds of nectar found on each island, and with it gains a new typing and appearance based on different styles of dance. It's a cool little gimmick, and all the styles are cool too. Personally, my favorite is the Pom Pom Oricorio, though I did end up switching to Bailey later in the playthrough. While not an offensive powerhouse, it's still a cute little mon that's just fun to play around with. Number 5. When Rockruff was first shown, I didn't really feel too strongly either way. A rock-type dog was a bit weird, and sure it was cute, but not enough so that it immediately stood out, and soon enough we were flooded with more info, and I sort of just forgot about him in the hype of other mons being shown. But then we got a glimpse at his evolution and its somewhat strange split forms, Lycanroc. While night form is cool, it didn't immediately catch my attention like midday form, who's on this list in number 5. I just love this design. From the noble look to the coloration, it's just fantastic. Perhaps it also helps that it strikes me as what my dog would look like if he were a Pokemon. While it's not the greatest in battle, it had enough speed, strength, and a decent enough move pool to get me out of some tight spots. It's just a pretty solid mon that I kept with me for the duration of my journey. Number 4. As I said earlier, owls are one of my favorite animals of all time, so when I saw Rowlet, it was my instant pick. But when the Chinese leaks showed up, well, I was a little less keen on Decidueye. Perhaps it was the weirdly human-esque legs, but he looked more like a man in an owl suit than anything else to me. I wanted to like it, but just couldn't, and it bothered me. I love archery, and I love owls. This mon was made for me. But something just felt off. When Dartrix was revealed, I loved that form, but could clearly see it was headed the way of the leaked final stage. And at long last, the final stages got their official reveal, and I ended up liking Decidueye a lot more than I thought. Perhaps it was just seeing it fully modeled in 3D and seeing its movements, but I quickly took back my prior disappointment in the owl, and with his hood, Decidueye and I even match. Overall, I had a lot of mixed feelings about the little owl, but that just made me like it even more. If I had to choose just one from the line, I'll go Rowlet, but they're all pretty great. I'd even say it surpassed Piplup as my favorite starter. Number 3. Alright, everyone knew we'd be talking about this one sooner or later. At number 3 is Mimikyu. What can I say? A vast number of people have fallen in love with this mon, and for good reason. Just its backstory alone is heartbreaking enough to make people love it. I mean, it's a Pokemon that just wants to be loved, but despite its best attempts, people pass it up. That hits home hard for a lot of people, and it's why we so love a good underdog story. So, Mimikyu disguises itself as Pikachu, a widely beloved mon, in the hopes of getting some love itself. Everything about this mon, from the backstory to its crudely drawn-on face, oozes adorableness. Further, being a combination of two of my favorite types, Ghost and Fairy, and even having an extremely solid ability with Disguise, basically letting it take a free hit every battle, I was sold. With that said, while I knew it would be a definite member of my in-game team the moment I saw it, I didn't have high hopes for it on the field, despite its amazing ability. But under that sheet, Mimikyu hides many surprises. Primarily the fact it's a physical attacker? What? But perhaps even more surprisingly is that Mimikyu has decent enough stats and move pool to be a nuisance. I'm actually ashamed to admit I lost a certain battle with this guy, not once, but twice. But at the end of the day, it's great to see Mimikyu succeed, cause we all like to root for the underdog. Number 2. Number 2 is actually the Pokemon I was certain would be my number 1 going into the game, Wishiwashi. It's just such a cool take on the real-life concept of fishes forming schools. This tiny little sardine proves there really is strength in numbers. A whole lot of strength. On its own, Wishiwashi is weaker than a Sunkern, but in its schooling form, it has the power to rival legendaries and megas in terms of brute strength. And that name fits its two forms perfectly, cause you could say it's a little wishy-washy. Ha! Number 1. Finally, at number 1, another mon I didn't think too much about, Minior. While at first its design isn't the most impressive, being a floating meteorite is kind of cool, it's also kind of boring. But then open that baby up and it's a cute pastel colored star. Its ability looked like a less flexible Aegislash, which seemed to be all it had going for it aside from its admittedly cool surprise color gimmick. Perhaps most perplexing was its typing. Rock? Yeah, okay. Flying? What? This thing looks totally psychic, just looking at the core, and that's before you account for the fact it looks like it could be related to everyone's favorite Sun and Moon Pokemon. Wait, no, not them. These guys. Okay, yeah, not most people's favorites, I got ya. Overall, while it had a cute design, I wasn't expecting much from Space Rock 2.0, and quickly forgot it in favor of other Mons and Alolan forms. What actually made me remember that this thing even existed was the heartwarming Train-On commercials, where it played a role in the mini story they told. While it wasn't enough to make it a key team member, it did make me want to give the little guy a chance on my in-game playthrough. But then, surprise surprise, it wasn't just a case of a trailer hyping up a Pokemon's power that wasn't actually that good. Minior was real. While not stellar stats, they were certainly passable for utilizing its ability, and like many Mons this generation, its move pool is a little sparse, but it gets enough to make it work. Shell Smash is a fantastic boosting move, and when used with White Herb, lets it instantly access a powerful acrobatics. It also gets moves like Stone Edge and Earthquake to round out some strong coverage options. It's also got some cool toys on the special sides too. There's the Psychic I've been complaining about, the obligatory Hidden Power, and surprisingly even Dazzling Gleam and Power Gem can put in work, hitting mons that wall your physical options. My little Minior saved me so many times in the main game. My biggest problem I have with Minior is actually its shiny form. I mean, I know everyone loves the black shinies cause we're all edgelords at heart, but what would have really celebrated the fun What's in the Wonder Ball surprise color gimmick of this mon would have been having a shiny form that had a shifting color scheme, cycling through all of its standard colors kind of like a Alolan Muck. Also, I wish when first sent out into battle Minior started with its shell up, so it would be more surprising when it broke and you got to see what color it actually was. Those are pretty minor, or should I say, Minior, complaints though. Overall, Minior is a great Pokemon, both charming in design and surprisingly good in battle. While some I knew I'd like going in, I was surprised by just how good the designs were across the board for this generation, with no Pokemon I really ended up outright disliking. But if I had to choose just 10, these are my favorites. Be sure to let me know what some of your favorites are down below, and as always, thank you for watching.